This week I want to teach you a very important fundamental of doing pretext and include a bonus tip for those of you who are already pretty good at doing pretext. Hi, I'm Larry K with ShadowAnyone.com and the creator of the Investigator's Ultimate Guide series, Premium Private Investigator Training, from someone who's been there and done that. And this is one of those cases where been that, done that really pays off. Especially in my Investigator's Ultimate Guide to Process Serving. I have a whole section on pretext. Now, most of those are pretext in person, but when you're going to have to try to trick somebody into taking a subpoena or summons that you have for them, some court papers. But I do talk a little bit about telephone pretext, and really there cover so many important things. Honestly, that section of that DVD set could probably be cut out and be its own little mini course on pretexting. But today what I want to talk to you about is one very fundamental thing and a bonus tip. The fundamental thing is when you're doing a pretext, you need to think about what's the single most important piece of information I'm trying to get here. In other words, if you go into this pretext, you say, if I can only get one thing, what is it that I really need to get? And structure and focus your pretext around getting that piece of information. So for example, it could be anything. It could be an address that you need. You might need somebody's phone number. There's a variety of things that you're trying to get. But for example, like with an address. So you might call up a business or an organization that you believe has that person's address and pose as the information technology department. And you might say something to them along the lines of, this is Joe over at IT, and we're not getting any information from your computer system this afternoon. Have you been having any problems with it? And of course they're going to say no, everything seems fine on this end. You say, well, I've got a test subject I want you to punch into the computer. We're going to see if it comes up properly. And you give them the name, Joe Smith or whatever your subject's name is. And they're going to type it in. They're going to say it came up, and say what address came up with it. And they're going to say, well, 7300 Main Street. All right, you got your address, you got your key piece of information. Now, don't let me, pretexting is not extremely difficult. I want to emphasize here, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not telling you what's legal or not legal. You should always keep it legal. And I also want to point out that I've just glazed over this pretext here. Don't try to use this pretext if you don't know the other fundamentals and important things that are involved. But I'm just talking about, by way of example, when you go to get some information on a pretext, think about the single most important thing you need, in this case, address. Now here's the bonus tip for some experienced people, and you may find this. How do you tease a little bit more information? Things are going well, the person on the other end of the line is convinced that you are Joe from the IT department. What other information can you get at this point? And here's the bonus tip. Here's the thing that's a little bit sneaky that will help you tease out more information if the situation warrants it. When they give you the address, for example, miscall it back to them. So when they say, oh, we got an address of 7300 Main Street, you say, we're showing 7200 Main Street. What do you have for phone number? What came up for phone number? And then they're going to read off the phone number, which you can either play along however you want with your pretext that you've got the right one or not. But notice how reading back a little bit of a misread on the information, that does two things. One, it makes it seem like you're seeing information too, that it's credible, that you're just verifying what they're bringing up. You're not asking for anything new. And the fact that it's off a little gives you the excuse to pull a little bit more and see if there's other information that you can get as well. So the miscalling of information. So number one, make sure when you go into a pretext, you have one key thing that you know that you're looking for. And number two, if you miscall some information, you can sometimes tease out a little bit more from the pretext. This is Larry K with ShadowAnyone.com. Oh, by the way, people lose their minds online when I teach this kind of stuff. Oh, you're a liar. You're lying. That violates the 8th commandment. How do you call yourself a Christian? If you're concerned about that, A, good, you should be. But B, go over to ShadowAnyone.com /podcast episode number 1, the second half of that episode, I talk about what is lying and the ethics of lying. So if that's something that concerns you, and it should, check out that podcast. The second half, I talk about the ethics of lying. In the meantime, remember, do the right thing, even if it's the hard thing.